Hi, my name's Tom. Today I'm going to do a video on how I roast coffee, turn green beans into roasted beans. I've been doing this for a long time, maybe 15 years ago, thanks to my father-in-law who got me started on this. He showed me how to do it. He gave me some equipment. And this is just a real simple process on how I roast coffee. Like my cousin Tractorman 44 says, this isn't a how-to video, this is a how I do it video. So go ahead and get started. I'll go through the equipment and then I'll roast a batch. I'm sure that there may be some criticism from, connoisseurs or people that, a lot better than I am at roasting coffee. But this is how I do it. It's very simple, very quick. I think maybe my taste buds aren't as good as some connoisseurs, where I really notice the difference between all the different flavors and whatever. I just know what I like, and this is, if you're just getting started, this is a real simple way to get started, and you can let it grow from there. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll go through some of the equipment I've had. Well, first let's start with the coffee. So I've only ever bought my coffee from Sweet Maria's. My father-in-law got it started. They don't endorse this video or anything. I've never spoke to them, very much. But they have all kinds of coffee. They are obviously very expert in picking out coffees. I know that Tom, the owner, has traveled to many villages around the world and met the villagers who grow the coffee, and hand picks coffee in many cases. I imagine with COVID, he may not be traveling as much, but he still has plenty of coffee to offer. So this is how the coffee comes packaged from Sweet Maria's. These are coffee beans. These don't have a size on them, but this is like two of these will grow in a cherry. You can kind of see they're like a half bean. And my son, who recently just got back from Hawaii, pointed out that pea berry, I always knew that it was a size, but also that he explained to me that a pea berry, there's one bean per coffee. So it doesn't look so much like a split bean as the other coffees. But, a good way to get started is maybe to pick out a blend. You can get these things that are pre-blended. This one is called Ethiopics. I'm probably say that wrong. Version 2 from Sweet Maria's. And they've got very good descriptions there on what the coffees are supposed to taste like when they're roasted, and the different flavors, and in what degree you roast them to will bring out different flavors. And so a blend is a good way to get started. Sometimes I'll also do single origins. For example, this one is a Mexico Cerro Brujo Don Sergio. Says it's good for espresso. This one's from Rwanda. So the single origins are going to come from a very specific village and have very specific characteristics to them. So, you can go, Sweet Maria's has got all kinds of resources. How-tos, different equipment for sale, whatever. I'm not here to sell Sweet Maria's, but that's the only thing I know. So what I use is this popcorn popper that my father-in-law gave me, that still works after, I don't know, he used it and then he gave it to me. I've been using it, like I said, at least 15 years. You might be able to find something like this on eBay. They have some similar ones. The thing that I've been told you want to look for, and that's what this one has, if you look down inside, all the jets come from the outside. You can't hardly see inside of there, but the jets come from the sides here, and it helps twirl the coffee around, whereas some of them, the jet comes from underneath. I've read probably on Sweet Maria's site that the ones that come around from the side are better. I haven't tried one from the bottom. So usually those things come with a plastic top. I take that off. I made this little rack to help me preheat my next batch. It helps reclaim some of the lost heat from the popper. It works very well, especially in the winter when the ambient temperature is colder and it takes longer to brew, or, excuse me, roast. So I use a fan. I like this fan to cool them off. I made this little thing. It's I made a wood frame and bought some stainless steel screen. I started out with just aluminum window screen, and I got weird about having aluminum in my coffee, so I bought some stainless screen on eBay and made a little different one. I put some legs on it, and then it's got a little hole over here to help me pour. You'll see that later how I do that. It works very well for me. It just straddles this fan and helps cool them down to stop the roast. And it helps speed up the process. So I use this to scoop out my coffee. I used to use this, which was given to me by my father-in-law, I think, as well. He marked on the side here, he measures out 5/8 of a cup at a time. And I think that's probably about what I use now. You'll see how I do that later. But this works handy. I put this up here to cool the coffee later. You'll see that. I use a little stir stick. You'll see me doing that. It used to be just a straight handle. My fingers would get hot, so I made it kind of a T-handle to get in here and help stir the coffee up. I got a scale, but I don't use it. I've never used it. I just want to show you the difference in the weight of the coffee before and after we're done roasting here. So, but usually I don't use a scale. You don't need that. I got a tub here that I store all my stuff in. It just makes it handy. And I got a little scooper here that if I want to just see how the coffee's doing during the roast, you'll see me scoop this out and look at it. Sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't. I got a marker that I can mark the bags. I buy these bags to store my coffee. They got the vented bags. I think they're maybe a Mylar. They're coated with foil or something. And they're good at keeping the coffee fresh. I reuse them, as you can see, until they don't work anymore, and I write on them a bunch. You do what you want there. I use one of these things to serve on a daily basis as I'm making coffee. It makes my bags last longer if I just open and close this when I'm making coffee in my kitchen. Or when my wife's making coffee for me. We enjoy having our coffee together. And the main reason I got into roasting coffee isn't to save money, as much as I just like really fresh coffee. And this is a good way to get really fresh coffee. I think that one of Sweet Maria's articles will tell you how long green beans last in storage versus roasted beans versus ground coffee. Don't quote me on this, but it's something on the scale of, these might store for 6 months. These might stay fresh for maybe like 2 weeks, and ground coffee might stay good for like 2 days. I don't remember the exact numbers, but it's along that order. The other thing that I use in the winter is I made this little thing to kind of help contain some heat around the roaster. I put it around like this. Don't get it too close, but you don't want to do this in your house. Contrary to what you might think if you've never roasted before, it does not make your house smell like fresh coffee. It'll make it smell like burnt grass. So you don't want to do it in your house unless you got a really good range hood to help exhaust the fumes. So I do mine in the garage. Today it's 90 degrees. My batches will roast really quick. In the winter, if it's 0 degrees outside, it might be 20 in my garage. I'll have to, if I don't put a little space heater nearby, my batches will take forever and I won't ever roast coffee. But this helps contain some of that heat in the winter. We're not going to use it today, so I'll put it aside. It's just styrofoam. Like I said, do what you want there. So when I get started, we'll go ahead and we're going to weigh this coffee today. So let's go ahead and do this. We'll do the pea berry first. That's what I've been drinking lately. It's from Rwanda, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And I don't get overly precise. That is what I found. You don't want too much in here or it won't swirl around, and too little or it'll swirl around and you won't even contain the heat. So I found about that much to be right. So we'll see how much that weighs. So I zeroed out my scale, and we'll see how much this weighs here. Okay, so I'm gonna write that down. That's 3.7 ounces. Okay, we'll see how much that weighs later. So I'm just going to see, I got my heat, I put switches on both my fan and my popcorn popper. It's just easier than plugging them in and out. So I'll just go ahead and turn that on, and then I'll dump the coffee in right away. And while that's getting going, if you look inside, you can see that it's swirling around in there. My wife, that's gonna show you what that looks like. That's swirling around. If you get too much, it'll just get stagnant, and you don't want it to get, you don't want it to just stand still. You'll overheat your popcorn popper. So until some of the moisture is gone, sometimes I'll stir it. And then the other thing I'll do is I'll get my next batch ready. So to do that, I'll put it up here, and I leave it sit, and it preheats it. I found that helps my batches go quicker. Not necessarily that quickness is the name of the game, but I don't like to stand out here all day roasting. So we'll just wait a little bit. While we're waiting, you know, I'll stir this up a little bit. Show you these. I got different bags. I think I've already showed you that. Not sure what else to tell you. So on this website, you'll find different documents that you can refer to. Oh, here, I printed off a fresh one. I'll see if I can put some links in the video. But I found, this is the one that I use. This was kind of the original that my father-in-law gave me. It still holds very true. It gets very technical, but it's cool. It shows you kind of the degrees of roast, what to look for. And it tells you some stuff about temperatures and some very technical stuff on what happens to the coffee. As it roasts and it loses moisture and the structures change inside and the oils do different things. The main thing I look for is back here. I look for the cracks. So it tells you first crack begins at 401 Fahrenheit, 401 degrees Fahrenheit. What does crack mean? Well, it sounds like popcorn popping. First crack will sound very loud and distinct, like popcorn popping. And you want to make sure to get all the way through first crack. I know Tom at Sweet Maria's has pointed out that he's had people write in and say their coffee tasted like grass or whatever. He said, you got to make sure all your beans get all the way through first crack. That's kind of the first and most important thing. And I like my roast somewhere between first crack and second crack. So what does second crack mean? Second crack, as they describe it, will sound like Rice Krispie treats. And so it's a lighter, faster crack. And you can go a little bit beyond that for some of your French roasts or Vienna roasts that are very dark, very oily roasts. But I've settled into something maybe closer to second crack. Now you can hear the cracks starting. You can see the chaff is starting to blow off. Another good reason not to do this inside. This stuff goes all over the place. On a sweaty day, it's going to stick to your arms and everything. And I'm just going to give it a little stir to help that chaff get off there. They claim that the chaff doesn't affect the flavor of the coffee. So some will stick to your beans, and that's fine. But it does get very messy. Now, if you were to look inside of here, you can see that there's getting to be more loft. The beans are expanding, and there's more loft, and the beans are bouncing around more. And if you put that's another thing, if you put too much coffee in here, they'll start going all over the place. For this popper, I found this amount that I showed you to be about right. I just blow the chaff off of here once in a while. So I'm going to wait till first crack's on the way. On a hot day like this, on a summer day, there is not very much time difference between first crack and second crack. And once this thing gets hot, I've had, especially with a blend, you'll have first crack going to second crack before you know it. So you don't want to go to sleep during this process. During the winter, if it's very cold in your garage, your ambient temperature is very cold, it might be 10 minutes between first crack and second crack. I've had roasts where I couldn't even hardly get it to second crack because I couldn't get the popper hot enough on a winter day. And that's fine. So, and some of the coffees are better. Like Tom will tell you right here on the bag and on his website, and he's got a staff too. I need to give his staff credit. I'm sure it's not just him working by himself. But like this Mexico, Cerro, Brujo, Don, Sergio says it should be between City Plus and Full City Plus, and that's right where I brew. That's City's like right now where it just stopped first crack, and Full City Plus is just into the second crack. So just to show you how I do this, it's a hot day. I'm going to stop this roast right now. So I'm going to turn my fan on. This is the fan, is a video on the look down here. See, I'm starting to get into second crack now already. I hear the next pop snapping, so I need to stop this now. So we're going to go ahead and I turn off the popper before you dump it. That's important, or you'll have coffee all over the place. The fan's running. It'll cool this batch down. Then clean off my table. And then we'll start the second batch. You always want to start that first, and then you want to keep it stirring. Now that this thing's hot on a hot day like this, you want to make sure there's good airflow through here, or this thing will shut down and overheat in a heartbeat. But basically that's it. That's the process. I'll get my next one going. These are cooling down. They say to wait 24 hours, let your coffee rest 24 hours. I let it rest in these bags. They vent. The reason the vent is there is to let the CO2 out and keep the oxygen from coming back in. So the coffee, as it rests, will continue to give off CO2. And one thing I've learned is that if you drink coffee at a coffee shop or at home, when you see that foam on top, they call that crema. That crema is actually CO2. It's actually kind of like carbonation. And I'm sure I'm using the wrong terminology, but that's what I call it. The fresher the coffee, the more of that crema you'll get because the CO2 is still trapped in there. So you'll see it's starting to turn brown in there a little bit. It's losing moisture. Oh yeah, that was the other thing I wanted to show you. We're going to go ahead and we'll weigh this. And we'll see how much moisture it lost. So it's turned on. I'll put it right back in the same container. Turn the fan off here. And this is why this hole is in here. So when I put it in the bag, right now I'm putting it in this cup. I don't know if you remember how much coffee was in here before, but I said it was probably like 5/8 of a cup. And you can see how much volume. Oh, that was nice, Tom. How much volume the coffee has gained. It's well over a cup now, but it will weigh less than it did before. So before we said it weighed, we'll say that was almost 4 ounces just to do easy math. So I'm going to predict, based on past experiences, that this might weigh about 3 ounces. Well, I'm wrong. So now it says it's 4.7 ounces, and I don't know why. I don't know why that happened. I've noticed that before, that they pick up weight, and if you guys know why it picks up weight, maybe you can let me know, because I'm a little confused now. But like I said, I'm obviously not an expert. I just like to drink coffee, and we'll put this in a bag now, and we'll wait 24 hours at least. I'll do about 2 weeks worth at a time. It just depends on what my mood is, how much I'll do at a time. But I found that 2 batches will fit in these little bags. The bigger bags, I can get 3 of these in. And I'll just seal it up. And sometimes I'll just keep a clothespin around while I'm roasting. And then later on I'll seal it up and put it down in my basement so I'm ready to drink it. So I hope you enjoyed the video. And thank you. Have a good day.